Oh, hey there. This is for you kids in my 7th hour. I have a tech meeting, so I have to be gone today, which is Tuesday, December 11th. So go ahead, launch Photoshop, create a brand new file. If you have to pause the screencast, go ahead and do that. But I want you to follow along. I'll try to keep this short so you can learn a few skills so that you can be capable of doing the Mr. Potato Head assignment. So just a couple of things to teach you regarding layers. So if you pause it in your back, you can see that we have a brand new blank file, and we're going to start off by creating a new layer down in the layer palette. And let's just call this, let's call it face. Okay, and all I want you to do is to take a paintbrush and take a few minutes and draw a profile of somebody looking to your right. All right, so really simple. Like there's his head, there's his nose, there's his mouth, chin, and we got an ear right here, and we got an eye right there, and now we got some goofy wild hair like that. All right, if you have to pause to catch up with all this drawing I'm doing, then go ahead and pause and come on back. But otherwise, I'm going to keep on going here. Okay, and so now that we have our guy who's looking kind of creepy here, we're going to switch to our move tool. Okay, that's what this lesson's all about, the move tool. And what I wanted to illustrate was when you take your object, of course, we know how to move them. We know how to resize him. But a lot of kids are getting stuck. After you resize or rotate or both, like I just did, you can't do anything else in Photoshop. You can't click a menu. You can't do anything until you either commit by clicking that checkbox, or you could hit the red no symbol, which means, hey, I want to change my mind and do something else. All right. All right, your lesson today is about making duplicates or cloning. All right, it's like copy and paste, but it's kind of like those two on steroids. Let's say I wanted to take my object and make a complete duplicate. Okay, so what we do with our move tool is we hold the Option key on our keyboard. So you can't see this, but I press that with my thumb, and that's why I have the black over white triangle symbol. That's Photoshop's way of saying if you drag, you're going to get a copy. So while keeping the Option key down, I click and hold my mouse, and I have another layer that looks exactly like the first. Isn't that cool? All right, now part two. How do you take a layer and flip it? So maybe these two faces are facing one another. Furthermore, how do you flip it in such a way that they're exactly the same size, or as you can see on my grease board, symmetrical, or they have symmetry? All right, it takes a bit of practice, but we're going to grab this left side handle, and as we drag it to the right, our object becomes skinnier, 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 and eventually, if you're patient and you go all the way out what I call the back door, and you let go where you think you've got it exactly the same size, you don't have to guess. Take note. Up at the top, there are two little percentage symbols. There's a W and there's an H. W stands for width. H stands for height. So I've changed the width of my object, and it tells me I'm minus 97.7% what I was before. In other words, I'm just slightly smaller. And negative means I've rotated it or flipped it negatively out like the back door. So all I have to do to get it exactly the same size is to alter these numbers. Okay, if I make the number minus 100 and I press the return key, that accepts the minus 100%. And if I green check mark to commit it, look at, they're exactly the same size. Mega cool. Okay, guess what, folks? It works vertically as well. So if for some reason you wanted your object to be flipped vertically, I can drag the top handle downward, and when I think I've approached what appears to be the same size up at the top for my numbers, I'll change the height to minus 100. I'll press return, I'll commit it, and now I know how to duplicate and I know how to flip. Now take note, we learned how to rotate, so if I wanted to rotate that and change this number, I bet you math whizzes could figure out a minus 180 rotation puts him back to where he started. So look at that. I have a complete clone. Okay? Here's a tip. When you're moving things around, if you can't get things exactly right where you want to line them up, you can use your arrow key. So I'm using my down arrow to move this layer just a teensy tiny bit. Okay, right arrow, so you might want to fine tune what you're doing. Okay, now as you kids were coming into the classroom, I sent you each a file. It's on your desktop. So I'm going to invite you to quit Photoshop. Don't save your doodle here. That was just practice. On your desktop, there is a file called Mr. P in Pieces. It's Mr. Potato Head. So if you double click that file, that'll open up in Photoshop. And your challenge is to put Mr. Potato Head back together. You need one tool today and one tool only. And that is the move tool. And so what we're doing is we're going to put that guy back there. I said you only need the move tool, but if you want to take your zoom tool and click once or twice to make this a tad bigger, you may. But take a look. You have one eye, a half a mustache, 1 foot, 1 arm. You're going to have to take all these objects and rotate them and flip them and clone them in such a way that you get Mr. Potato Head back together. I really want a sense of preciseness. So you may take a look at this screenshot right here. If you have to pause the screencast and keep this part of the screencast open, that's your target. That's what I want you to make. Notice how close the eyes are together. Notice how the ears blend in nicely to the head. Okay? Head and body are kind of one with Mr. Potato Head. So you may have to take the ears in the layer stack and put them behind the head / body, right? We don't want the ears sticking way overlapping. So in the layer palette, if you drop the ears beneath them, right, then that would look like they blend in better. Probably wondering, what's he talking about? Layer stack. Okay. If I can get this back open, I can show you quick. The layer stack just refers to your layer palette. And so if I take, back over here, if I take the ear, for example, and I move that ear up here, all right, it looks funny. So if I take it and put it behind the body like that, see how it kind of blends in? It goes behind it. So you might consider that when you do the ears, okay? And then you're going to have to duplicate it, right? And you're going to have to flip it. We talked about how to do those things. So, all right, have fun. Save your work. Your potato head should be awesome. See you tomorrow.